Joining me here in the studio now is Sudan expert Shayna Lewis. Shayna is with the Atrocities Prevention Organization, PAEMA. Shayna, it's good to have you with us. So let's talk about what we're seeing happening right now. The testimonies that are coming out of the Darfur area are horrific. I mean, what are you hearing from the people who are fleeing El Fasher?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brent. I spoke with Kamisa on Monday. Kamisa fled the genocide in El Fasher and is now safely in Tawila. But she told me how they had to sleep in trenches in order to escape, and that the RSF took her 18-year-old son, and that she now no longer knows where he is. But she did see hundreds of children that were taken by the RSF. So make no mistake, these aren't just atrocities or war crimes. This is the next phase of the Darfur genocide.
You say the next phase. Do we have any idea of what's happening to these kidnapped people?
We have footage, self-recorded footage by the RSF, which shows the mass killings that are taking place. The RSF are taunting people on camera and then telling them that they are free to leave, and as they turn to walk away, shooting them dead in the back and leaving them in a ditch. So we have a lot of documentation of what is happening on the ground. The
RSF now appears to be moving east from Darfur towards, is that Kordofan, is that correct?
Yeah, the Kordofan region.
What is the significance of that region strategically, and what might come if they take control of that region?
Yeah, they're trying to cement control over the Kordofans at the moment. We have seen similar sieges to Al Fasher in South Kordofan, in Kadugli and Dillinj. In North Kordofan, there was a massacre only last week where hundreds of civilians were also killed by the RSF. So the RSF is attempting to cement their control over not just Darfur, but this other western region. And if they are able to achieve that, they will be in control of a significant portion of the territory of Sudan and also of Sudanese, the civilian population.
We've been getting a warning from the UN Secretary General that the war, and I'm quoting him, is spiraling out of control. International pressure still seems to be very limited here. Why has the world, in your opinion, failed to do more?
It's funny that the Secretary General is now calling for action in Sudan when it's actually a failure at the very highest levels of the UN to show leadership. There have been warnings for over 2 years of the atrocities that were coming for the people of Sudan, and particularly for the population of Al Fasher, and the world has not done anything. It's not a lack of information that was flowing, it's a lack of political will. And it takes, in this moment, the international community to reflect on their responsibility and to act now. They need to urgently turn on the taps for humanitarian funding, because those who are fleeing from this kind of violence are being met with no resources on the ground.
You say, so 2 years nothing has happened significantly. Do you put the blame right at the doorstep of the Secretary General of the UN?
Absolutely. He published recommendations on the protection of civilians over a year ago, and they were the weakest set of recommendations I've seen.
How do you explain that?
Again, the lack of political will. The UN at the moment is not interested in actual action on Sudan. And until that changes, until there is commitment to pressuring the external backers and naming and shaming them, naming the UAE for their role in supporting and funding the RSF, but no global leader has stepped forward and actually recognized the role of the UAE publicly.
The UN Security Council will meet today on Sudan. What do you expect to come out of that meeting, if anything?
I did not know that the Security Council meeting today in addition to their meeting last week. What we need is more than a resolution. It's the political will to actually implement things on the ground, particularly the humanitarian funding that needs to flow. But also we should be talking about sanctions, and not just sanctions on senior RSF commanders, but also sanctions on the UAE for their role in perpetrating the genocide that is taking place on the ground.
Is that a bit of wishful thinking on your part to see sanctions against the UAE, considering the geopolitical reality right now?
Absolutely, but I think we have to be ambitious and push our global leaders into action, because without advocates doing that work, they will go for the lowest ambition option that is on the table.
There is growing talk of Sudan being effectively partitioned. What do you make of that?
It's a reality that none of us want to see for Sudan, but it looks increasingly likely, with two very clear areas of control between the RSF and SAF. If the RSF is able to secure the Kordofan region, then it looks increasingly likely. However, we do still have to push towards a nationwide ceasefire, because the territorial unity of Sudan should not be up for negotiation.
Shayna Lewis with PAEMA. Shayna, it's good to have you in the studio. We appreciate you taking the time to help us shed light on a story that, for many, has been underreported. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.